Let's take that beautiful energy of that song, feeling so blessed, and bring that right into our hearts. So take a moment, if you feel comfortable, to place one hand on your heart, one hand on the core center of yourself, and close your eyes if you so feel called and comfortable, and turn your gaze inward. And together, let's take a nice deep breath in. And let it out. And let's do that 2 more times together as a community. Deep, deep breath in. And let it out. And a final deep, deep breath in together as a community. Deep breath in. And let it out. Allowing your breath to just come to a normal pace. Keeping your hand on heart, hand on core center of self if that feels comfortable. And take a moment here to just notice maybe there's some mind chatter going on. Because it took some doing to get here on a Sunday with all the holiday activity and the snow. Allow that chatter of wherever you came from to just drop into your heart. And if you can envision, if you're a visual person, you can see your heart with this big open mouth just taking all of that chatter in. Delighting in it. And allow yourself to settle right into your heart, into the privilege and blessing of being here together today. The privilege and honor of being here every Sunday that we can get here physically, and every Sunday that we can be here virtually, and we get to be here together. Continue to bring yourself and your gaze further and further inward, deeper and deeper. And I'll be quiet for about a minute while you settle in. And together, dropping your chin to chest, allowing your eyes to open, reorient yourself to the space, to each other. Bring your gaze up and look at the wonderful people that have come to spend time with you here today. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Brigid. Thank you. I was going to say thank you, Roger, but apparently Roger is not feeling himself. Hi, Roger. Hope you're at home taking care of yourself. But thank you for the privilege of speaking to you this morning. You know, just a few days before the burning bowl ceremony, it feels really lovely, and it's this moment where we're beginning to loosen our grip on 2025. Because it's been a bit of a grip, maybe a white knuckle ride. And we're beginning to maybe open up our hands, our hearts, ourselves to what is possible and what is coming in 2026. Because today doesn't feel like just another Sunday. It feels like a threshold. And we're standing at the edge of a year that asked a lot out of us. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, relationally. And we're on the brink of another that feels like has this sensation of asking for something more honest, more grounded, more intentional. So I believe that the question before us is not just, what will next year look like? But because we're at Unity and we do understand that the inner creates the outer, we do understand that. I think more the question is, what state of consciousness am I willing to practice as I step into 2025? So there's this sense of agency and privilege and choice and willingness that we enter into the year with. So this year was a monumental one, and it was for me also on a personal level. I wrote and published a book that was kind of decades in the making. So it's based on the relationship work that I do with my clients, but also on very personal experience. It's called Unbreakable Us, Removing the Barriers to Love. And it's kind of funny because, you write a book and you think, oh yeah, you're writing about the subject, but the subject actually ends up writing you. And it pulls you deeper, it humbles you, and it demands more honesty than I thought I'd actually signed up for. So today's topic is love as a living system. And, what could I possibly say about love that hasn't been contemplated? Ever since the first teenage girl in a cave had a crush on the teenage boy in the cave next door, right? Great minds have contemplated love forever. And still, here we are, aching for it, longing for it, fighting about it, misunderstanding it, trying to find it, trying to keep it, trying to make it feel safe. So getting ready for this morning, I was like, where do I even start? So I'm like, I'll start with some quotes. So here you go. I came up with two quotes that I thought might be pertinent to this morning. And the first one is from Jimi Hendrix. Yes! So Jimi Hendrix once said, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, then the world will know peace. The second quote, one of my personal favorites and one that inspired, in part, the title to my book, is a quote from Rumi. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it, and embrace that. So there's a lot to contemplate in these two quotes. Because first, Hendrix is calling for a spiritual shift where love's force, rather than the pursuit of power, becomes humanity's guiding principle. Where you stop trying to control one another and actually remember that we actually belong to each other. And then Rumi gives us another clue to the great mysteries of love, which is how do we access love more fully, more completely, more consistently? Not in a Hallmark way, not in a way to be like, be nicer, but truly, how do we enhance our capacity to love? And more importantly, how to receive it, because we have a receiving, I'm not going to say problem, issue, challenge. So Rumi suggests that there are inner conditions when love arises, and other inner conditions when love is impeded or limited or constricted. And honestly, isn't that our experience? Like, aren't there times when you're like feeling like love gushes through you and you feel so connected and completely, it arises spontaneously and you have no say in the matter and it just overtakes you? And don't you have those moments sometimes? And then don't you also have other moments where you feel blocked, closed, irritated, annoyed, indifferent, self-absorbed? When love feels like so far away, it's like the stars. You can't even touch it. So we often attribute that sort of tendency towards one or the other to like, it's all has to do with circumstances or the environment or like to the people we love or we don't love in any particular moment. But what is true? Now, if you're a parent, you know this one, and I just spent 7 days with my son, so I know it very well. We obviously love our children. And truthfully, there are moments when our heart is full and everything that they do feels precious and our hearts swell. And then there are other moments when same child exhibits same behavior, but we haven't had enough rest or we haven't done our practices or our nerves are frayed. When the exact same behavior and the exact same child will be highly irritating. And we experience that differently at different times. So I want you to consider this. I want you to consider that maybe love isn't about what's just happening out there, but that love, and maybe we, with love, are the key variable here. That there's something about us and our engagement with it, our willingness to see it, is actually a key factor in our ability to experience it. So I live outside of Altamont. It's a lovely place to live. I feel lucky to be surrounded by nature. And I like to take walks in the woods. I need to take walks in the woods often. That's on my 2026 goal. But I notice that sometimes when I'm in the woods, I'm really just available to everything that's around me. And this spring, I had the honor and privilege of caring for my dear friend's dog, Harvey Milk. And we walked when everything was just coming into bloom, right? And it was coming back to life, and I could see like the different shades of green, and the dappled sunlight would come through the trees, and the chickadees and the woodpeckers and the towhees were back, and the nuthatches would beep, 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 beep on their way up the trees, and I would like, oh my God, this is just spectacular. It was just sublime to be walking in the woods, watching Harvey just lop around the woods. And then there were other days, same woods, same path, same dog, same little birdies, right? Same little trees. And I might as well have been at the gym, on a treadmill, looking out at the parking lot window. It's not that love isn't there. It's that something inside me, there was a barrier from my ability to see the love that was there. So earlier this year, our community, this Unity community, many of us participated in spirit groups. And we read Paul Ferrini's book, The Keys to the Kingdom, 8 Spiritual Practices That Will Transform Your Life. And at the same time, in my own life, I was like busy writing Unbreakable Us. And when we gathered in our spirit groups, and I think it was the first or second time that we gathered together, when I read the first principle, love yourself, there was a statement in that segment that really stopped me in my tracks. And the statement was, love is a circulatory system. And then he continued and he said, it's like the blood flowing in and out of the heart, or the air flowing in and out of the lungs. It is self-sustaining, self-perpetuating, and once you're in the flow of love, you do not have to think about it. It just happens, like breathing. That line was just like, what? Because it pulled together so many things that I was working with, that I had been working with for a really long time as a student of the Course in Miracles. It just kind of pulled things together there, what I've experienced personally with love, professionally with love, and my understanding of like nature and the seasons and the way things function. So that statement made a lot of logical sense to me. You see, like, for example, crabapple trees. You know what those look like. I think they're around Albany. They don't actually withhold their blossoms because the deer in the previous season happened to gobble all the apples up, right? And the crabapple tree doesn't punish the bees for helping themselves to the nectar of the blossoms. They don't get resentful. They just bloom lavishly every single year, no matter what. And I recognized in everything that I had been writing for Unbreakable Us, the one thing that was missing was a working definition, a shared understanding of what love is. Because we all come and we all look at the word love and we have different ideas of what that is for us. And many of us, myself included, not all, but many of us have been taught to see love as a sort of a transaction, as currency. You must earn, prove, barter for, as a bargaining chip, as a scarce resource that gets handed out in exchange for good behavior. And sometimes, even if we don't mean to, we use it as a tool to manipulate, to control, to manage others into behavior we deem acceptable, or maybe just so they won't overwhelm us. But in truth, when love is used as leverage to keep others in line, to convince them into meeting our needs, or to withhold it when they fail to meet our expectations, it ceases to be love. It becomes coercion. How many of us have had an understanding of that or an experience of that kind of love here in this community? Right? Most of us learned this before we even had language for it. So here's the definition I want to invite you into. Use as you choose. You're more than welcome to disagree with me, but this is what I came up with. That love, the kind that withstands storms, life's storms, is not a scorecard. It's not a ledger. It's a living, breathing system. It's always present. It's always moving. It's always available. And when you embrace love as having these qualities, you step into a new way of relating with yourself, with each other, with love in general. And you begin to trust that love is there even when things are hard. Even when life and circumstances and stressors, and yes, geopolitical moments in history, pull at the edges of our connection. Love does not disappear in moments of tension or hardship. It simply exists. It is not something that we get. It's something that we are inside of, and it is inside of us. So Unity teaches that God is the one presence and the one power active in the universe and in our lives. So when people say God is love, we understand that as a poetic language that points to something a little bit deeper. That the qualities of the one presence, love, intelligence, harmony, creativity, life, are not earned. They are expressions of what is already there. There is nowhere that presence is not. And therefore, there is nowhere that love is not. And never a moment in time when love is not present. So if the presence is within us, at the very core of our being, then love must also be within us, fully, completely, always. Which begs the really honest question of why don't we feel love all the time? And this is where a particular analogy helps me. That oxygen is everywhere too, but there are some times, man, I can't breathe. Same with love. It's omnipresent. It's built into the fabric of the universe. But our inner state, our receptivity to it, makes it inaccessible to us. We're like sailboats at sea. We need the wind to be blowing all around us. But this is the part that is about our willingness and our choice and our sense of agency, is if we don't set our sails properly, then there is no way of harnessing, there is no way of receiving, there is no way of utilizing what is there. Same with love. And you just can't will yourself to have it. But love in its truest sense just is. So we have to set our sails. We have to make ourselves receptive to love. Because if the one presence is within us, then the qualities of that presence are also within us. A Course in Miracles states that there's a law of love, and it goes like this. What I give my brother, and you can replace the word brother with mother, father, child, partner, neighbor, dog, fill in the blank. What I give my brother is my gift to me. This is also the law of cause and effect. Karma. Phil Goldberg was here a couple of weeks ago talking to us all about that. And he shared and reminded us that karma, this law of cause and effect, is unalterable. Because whatever energy you put out there is actually yours to keep. And this is where the living system part of things gets real. Because love isn't just an idea, it's a circulation. Whatever we circulate, we put out there, we get to live inside. So, this is where it gets real. Circulate anger, live in anger. Circulate blame, live in blame. Circulate judgment, live in judgment. Circulate criticism, live in criticism. Circulate resentment, live in resentment. Circulate love, live in love. The choice is ours to make every moment of every day. Now, years ago, my husband, my now husband, and I were, when we were still dating, my son, who's now 30, said to me, I want a relationship just like yours and Matt's. I'm like, yes, I made it. Created something that was different than what I had. An Unbreakable Us was written in part to be the answer to the question that was inherent in that statement to me. It was a roadmap to him. And because he was moved, maybe without necessarily understanding consciously, he was moved by our deep affection for one another, by what it looks like for two people to feel free to love each other. Because love wasn't always easy for me. That's why I wrote a book on it. You know what they say? You gotta teach what you gotta learn. I needed a lot. There was a lot for me to learn. Because in the past, I bottled up my heart. I closed it in self-defense. And at one point, it became unlocked. And I was willing to let that happen. I felt safe enough to let that happen. I felt safe enough to let some of the defenses begin to fall away. And I felt this natural upsurge of love from inside that was really easy for me to give away. It's an inside job, right? And of course, like the presence of a deserving person matters. Circumstances matter. The people you associate with matter. But the deeper truth is, if you want love, and we all do, it starts by giving it. And to give love, we have to learn to access the love that is already here inside of us. We have to create the right kinds of conditions for that love to come out. And when it doesn't come out easily, because sometimes it comes out sideways, as it happens for the best of us, then we have to remember, we have to go back, open up the door again, start again, reestablish the conditions for that love to be experienced and for that love to flow. This is what I teach my relationship coaching clients as a foundational skill set, as a practice. Because when we practice, we remove the obstacles to the divine within us, to the love within us, to the love available to us, from us, and with us. So as I'm beginning to close here, I want to offer one more teaching, one that has served me nicely in navigating love and life, one for you to carry as we move forward into 2026. There's an ancient Japanese legend that shares that each one of us was born with an invisible red thread tied to our pinky finger. And this red thread will lead us to another person, someone we are destined to meet, someone we're meant to make history with. And the legend tells that those are connected and will share a story, but it can't be thwarted by time or circumstance or place. And the thread can get tangled and it can get stretched, but it can never break. And the connection is not limited to couples. It extends outwards towards those who are significant and maybe seemingly insignificant others who make up the stories of our lives. We're all part of that scarlet tapestry. And though these red threads are given to us at birth, we weave them together ourselves by the power of our divine free will. We all get that. So it becomes a living system teaching that love is already present, already here. And the question is only whether we will choose to live as if that statement is true. So today, you might find on your chair or nearby a small piece of red thread at your seat. And I invite you to wear it, tie it on your purse, stick it in your pocket, put it in your wallet, put it on your altar at home as a reminder for 2026, or on your ear. Not as a superstition, but as a practice. A physical cue. A gentle interruption that says, remember. Because we are living in complex times. Geopolitical realities are intense. The collective nervous system is activated and somewhat tapped out. And it is exactly in times like these that love is meant to be remembered. Not as an idea, but as a practice. And as we approach the time of our burning bowl ceremony, this beautiful ritual of release, I want to offer you a couple final questions to carry with you into that evening. What has been running your system in 2025? What fear, what stories, what protections? And what are you ready to release? Not because you're wrong for having it, but because you want something else at the center of your decisions now. We'll be spending some time with those questions during the workshop this afternoon, exploring them in a more tangible and creative way. Because we can't always control what happens around us, but we can practice the inner condition that make love more accessible. We can set our sails. We can return again and again. And we can remember that love is a living system. It is meant to move. It is meant to be given. So with that, may your red thread be gentle and steady. And may 2026 be a year where again and again, perfectly, imperfectly, tenderly, faithfully, you return to love as your decision, each and every moment of each and every day. Thank you.